A silver light appeared in Earth's sky like a second sun. At first, people thought it was a meteor. Some thought it was a comet, but they were wrong. It was a ship, bigger than any human city, floating above Earth with no sound, no warning. When inside the ship, voices spoke in a strange language. They called themselves the Predators. They believed Earth was weak. They had destroyed many worlds before and saw Earth as their next prize. They didn't come to talk, they came to conquer. They sent a message that played on every screen, in every language. A cold voice said Earth must kneel or be destroyed. The world froze. People were scared. Cities went quiet. Everyone waited for their leaders to act. In a hidden bunker deep in Arizona, Colonel Jack Murray stood in front of a wall of screens. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He had seen many battles before, but never anything like this. Around him, officers moved fast. They brought reports, satellite images, and attack warnings. A young officer named Katie Lewis turned to the colonel. Her voice was steady. She said the enemy fleet had taken position near the moon. More ships were coming. She asked if they should begin peace talks. Jack shook his head. He said one sentence: "We don't bow." In the next hour, every military base across the world became active. Submarines moved into the oceans. Fighter jets took to the skies. Hidden weapons in orbit powered on. Old nations set aside old fights. Earth became one. From space, the Predators watched. They laughed. To them, Earth was still nothing more than soft ground. They didn't understand what humans had been through. They didn't know about the wars, the pain, the survival. They didn't know humans had learned how to fight smarter, not just harder. Colonel Jack called his team closer. He looked at each of them. Some were scared, some were angry. All of them were ready, he said. They think we're prey, dead. Let's show them what Earth really is. Outside the bunker, night had fallen. But in the darkness, the fire of resistance had been lit, and it would burn bright. The first attack came at sunrise. The sky over New York turned red as the enemy ships moved through the clouds. People ran through the streets. Sirens screamed. The sound of the enemy engines shook the buildings. Then came the blast. A beam of fire cut through the sky and tore through a tower. Smoke and dust filled the air, but Earth was ready. Hidden under Central Park, missile bays opened. For rockets flew into the air, fast and bright. They hit the enemy ship in the middle. The explosion lit up the morning sky. One of the ships fell, crashing into the river. The others turned and started firing. In Tokyo, fighter jets flew through the streets between the buildings. They moved like birds, fast and sharp. Pilots worked as a team, aiming for weak spots. One pilot, a young man named Eric Stone, locked onto a large enemy craft. His voice was calm as he gave the countdown. The missile flew and hit the ship's engine. It burst into flames and hit the ground with a loud crash. In Berlin, soldiers and drones worked together. A group of enemy walkers tried to push through the city square, but the ground opened up under them. Traps had been placed the night before. Machines fell into fire pits and exploded. Soldiers moved in fast and without fear. They knew this was not just a fight for their city, it was a fight for their world. At a secret base near the mountains, Captain Lily Harper stood in front of her crew on the stealth ship called Ghostfire. She had clear eyes and a steady voice. Her ship had no weapons on the outside. It was built to strike from the shadows. She gave the order to rise. The ship moved like a shadow under the clouds and locked onto a large enemy command ship. One shot from Ghostfire hit the target. The enemy ship broke into pieces and fell over the ocean. The enemy had not seen the shot coming. They started to pull back, confused. Across the world, people saw the news. Earth was fighting back. Hope began to rise. Enemy had power, but Earth had fire. And that fire was just getting started. In a dark hangar deep under the Rocky Mountains, engineers worked without rest. Sparks flew as metal was cut and machines were opened. The air smelled of oil and heat. Men and women in gray suits moved fast, checking wires and systems. This was no normal lab. This was the heart of Earth's counterattack. Caleb Barnes stood near a large metal table. On it lay the broken parts of an enemy weapon. His hands moved with skill. He was not a soldier. He was a builder, a thinker. But now, his mind was Earth's secret weapon. He had never seen machines like these. They were fast, sharp, and full of strange energy. Beside him, Maya Green held a small device pulled from the wreckage of a downed enemy fighter. She pressed a button and blue lines lit up. She stared at the patterns. They were not random. They told a story. A story of humans far from Earth. A story of power taken and others made to serve. Caleb looked at her and said, "These are not aliens. They're people. Changed, trained, but still people." She nodded. "They think they are better, but they bleed just like us." At the same time, far above Earth, a large ship circled in silence. Inside, a tall woman sat on a throne of steel. She wore armor that shone like glass. Her eyes were cold. This was the Queen. She watched the battle reports. Her officers stood around her in fear. Many had never seen her speak, but now she rose. She said one thing: crush their heart. The Queen sent a new order. A strike team was chosen. They would land near Colorado, where Earth's Central Command was hidden. Their goal was simple: destroy the leaders, break Earth's mind before it could fully wake. The ship broke through the clouds and dropped a silent team into the forest. But they were not alone. In the trees, motion sensors picked up movement. Cameras followed the shadows and a warning was sent. Colonel Jack read the message and turned to his screen. "They're coming," he said. "Let them." Outside the bunker, soldiers took their positions. Weapons were loaded, eyes stayed sharp. Earth had learned the enemy's secret. Now it was time to use it. The forest was quiet, but danger moved through the trees. The enemy strike team wore black armor and carried sharp weapons. They did not speak. They did not stop. Their mission was clear: find the command base and destroy it. They moved like hunters, but they were being hunted. High in a tree, Corporal Sean Carter watched them through a scope. He held his rifle steady. Beside him, Sergeant Mia Dawson checked the trap map on her screen. She pointed to a small hill ahead. "They'll pass through the valley," she said. Sean nodded. "That's where we hit them." Hidden wires were already set. Explosives were buried in the ground. Drones circled above the clouds. Enemy had better tech, but Earth had learned to fight with the land. The enemy team entered the valley. They stepped with care, but they were too late. The first trap snapped, sending fire and steel into the air. One figure flew backward and hit a rock. The rest ran for cover, but there was none. Sean fired once. A soldier dropped. Mia gave the signal, and the forest lit up. From every tree, bullets and fire poured down. The enemy fought back, fast and strong, but they were confused. Earth soldiers moved like smoke. They hit and vanished. One enemy fighter reached the edge of the bunker gate. He raised his weapon. Before he could fire, Mia stepped out and shot him through the chest. Inside the base, alarms stopped. Colonel Jack stood by the door. His voice came through the speaker. "They're done," he said. Outside, the last of the enemy team fell. The fight was fast, hard, and full of rage, but it was not even close. Later, Sean and Mia stood over the bodies. Mia looked down and spoke. "They came thinking we were animals, but they walked into the wrong jungle." Sean gave a short laugh. "They thought we had fear. All we have is fire." The team moved back to the bunker. Engineers were already checking the gear left behind. Every wire and weapon would be studied. Every clue would become a new blade. That night, across the world, the message was clear. The enemy could bleed, and Earth knew how to make them bleed more. The sky above Earth turned dark again, but this time, it was not from fire. A fleet of human ships rose from hidden bases around the world. Their shapes were sharp, and their engines burned bright. This was Operation Thorn, Earth's first strike into enemy space. At the front of the fleet flew the ship called Eagle's Cry. Inside, Captain Leo Granger stood with his crew. He looked at the map of stars on the screen. Their target was Titan, one of the moons near the gas giant. It was now a stronghold filled with enemy forces and heavy weapons. Leo gave the order. "All ships move out. No fear." Beside him, Commander Julia Hayes checked the codes and signals. Her fingers moved fast across the console. She was calm, focused, and ready. Titan would not be easy, but Earth would not turn away. The fleet jumped through space in a flash of light. When they came out, they saw the enemy ships waiting near the moon. There were many. Some were large like cities. Others were fast like arrows. The battle began at once. Those missiles flew across space. Lasers cut through the dark. Human ships moved together in perfect lines. They had trained for this moment. Every shot had purpose. Every move had meaning. The ship called Black Horizon was hit, but it did not fall. Its captain turned the ship into the fire and crashed into an enemy cruiser. Both ships broke apart in a ring of flame. On Titan's surface, Earth's strike team landed in silence. Snow covered the ground. Julia Hayes led the team through frozen tunnels toward the shield station. If they could take it down, the fleet could strike harder. Enemy guards stood in their path. The fight was close. Guns were not always enough. Blades were drawn. Fists were used. But the humans moved like wolves through the ice. Julia reached the control room and placed the charge. The shield dropped. In the sky above, Leo saw the opening. Oh, he said, the fleet fired as one. Titan shook under the power of the attack. Enemy ships began to fall back. Had reached their door, and they had knocked it down with fire. Far beyond Titan, under the cold light of Ganymede's ice, the enemy prepared their final weapon. Hidden deep under the surface, a dark energy cannon was being built. It was made to strike Earth's core and burn the planet from inside. It fired, Earth would fall in seconds. Inside her steel throne room, the Queen watched her builders work. Her face showed no fear. She believed Earth was broken and weak. She believed her victory was close. But she was wrong. Colonel Jack had seen the enemy's plan through stolen codes. He called his captains. The order was given. No waiting, no mercy. The final attack would begin now. Captain Leo Granger led the fleet toward Ganymede. The ships flew fast, dodging debris and enemy fire. Behind him flew the Nova Claw and other ships ready for war. The sky near Ganymede was full of enemy defense lines, but Earth's fleet did not slow down. The space battle began with fire and steel. Earth's weapons hit hard. The enemy fired back, but they could not stop the wave. In the middle of the fight, Leo gave the next command. Send the team down. A strike group dropped to the surface. Commander Mia Dawson landed first. Snow hit her helmet. Her boots sank into the ice. Around her, soldiers moved in lines, fast and quiet. The base was large and full of guards, but they pushed forward. The tunnels were full of traps. Bullets flew. Fire lit the walls. One by one, Earth's fighters cleared the way. They reached the lower levels where the weapon core was charging. Leo's voice came through the radio. Must shut it down now. Mia looked ahead. The Queen's guards stood in front of the final door. One of them ran at her with a blade. She met him in the middle and fought with all her strength. Behind her, her team fought with fists, knives, and fire. The hall was full of smoke and shouts. At last, Mia broke through and entered the control room. She pulled the core wires loose and threw the charge. The weapon shut down just before it fired. Above the moon, Leo smiled. Good now. We finished this. The Queen's last plan had failed. Earth was not falling. It was rising. The doors of the throne room opened with a loud sound. Smoke and dust filled the air. Inside, the Queen stood tall, her armor shining like ice. Her guards were gone. Her fleet was broken. Her weapon had failed. But her eyes still burned with pride. Captain Leo Granger stepped forward with his rifle in hand. Behind him, Commander Mia Dawson walked slowly, her clothes torn and her face marked with dust and blood. She had come through fire to reach this place. The Queen looked at them and spoke. You fight well, but you are still less. You follow rules. I follow power. Mia raised her voice. Power means nothing if you have no soul. The Queen drew her sword. Then fight me and show me your soul. Leo gave a short nod and stepped aside. Mia walked to the center of the room. The two women faced each other. One born to rule by fear. One born to fight for others. The battle was hard. Steel hit steel. Sparks flew with every strike. The Queen moved fast, strong, and full of rage. Mia fought with skill, heart, and purpose. She took hit after hit but did not fall. At last, Mia found an opening. She dropped low, turned, and drove her blade through the queen's armor. The queen gasped. Her sword fell. She dropped to her knees. "You were never a queen," Mia said. "We're only a shadow of what a leader should be." The queen looked up one last time and whispered, "You are strong. I see it now." Then she fell.
The war was over.
Across space, the enemy ships stopped moving. Without orders, they had no purpose. Many powered down. Some fled. Others opened their gates and dropped their weapons. Earth's fleet sent out a message. This war is finished. Earth stands free. On Earth, people filled the streets. Flags were raised. Bells rang in cities and villages. The world had survived. It had not just defended, it had won. Colonel Jack stood by the window of the command room. He looked up at the stars. "They came to take everything," he said. "Instead, we showed them what it means to be human." And with that, a new age began.